Here he is,
Okay,
just in time.
start in just a second.
There's 14 different.
I just couldn't get his.
We understand. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals for September 13th, 2023. We've got a short agenda today, just two items. But first off, I'd like to introduce to everyone Matt Fry, who has recently been appointed to the Zoning Board. He's our alternate. Today, he'll be able to vote because we are down one seated member. Matt's been a resident of Dobbs Ferry for 9 years. His professional background is in the real estate business, and importantly, he's a very level-headed guy that I've known for 9 years. John's known for 9 years, and probably some of the bartenders in town have known for a while. But we wish him good luck and are happy that he's working with us.
Thank you.
So the first order of business is 107 Palisade Street. Who will be heard on this application?
Christina Griffin. I'm the architect, principal of CJ Studio Architects. I'm here with Karen Schuback. She's the project architect. And the owners are here, Teresa and Richard Lorenz. We're here to request two variances. And these variances are in order to enable us to subdivide the property. This front cover sheet shows the existing building at 107 Palisades. If you could blow that up, please. It's a three-family house, a little over 2,000 square feet. And on one side of it, on the north side, is an open lot. This is what's on the north side. It's very flat, and what we're planning to do is subdivide it and then build a new two-family house on this property. And if we look at our next sheet, it's okay. This just shows where the property is located. We are not far from the church. The property is actually next door. This is the open lot, and this is Palisade Street. Most of the buildings are multifamily. There's a mix of like 2 and 3 family, and then a couple of apartment buildings on the west side. And these are just images, photos of the neighboring houses. Again, a mix of 2 and 3 family homes. There's a church from one to the south of the property. This is the 107 Palisade. And then to the right, we have some larger apartment buildings. This is the survey showing the property as it is today. The existing 3-family house is on the south side of the property. And this is the lot that we're planning to subdivide. Oh, this is the lot we're planning to create by subdividing it in approximately in half. Next slide, please. It's okay. So this lot is 12,735 square feet. This is in the MDR2 zone. The minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet, and we're planning to divide it into one lot that's 6,745 square feet on the south, and a new lot on the north with a proposed 2-family house that will be 5,945. And this is our zoning chart. So this new lot will meet the zoning code in all respects in terms of lot area, setbacks, lot coverage, impervious coverage. But when we do this subdivision, we will need 2 variances. On the old lot, we need a variance for setback to the outdoor parking area, because when we put this property line here, we'll be 6 feet 2 from the existing paved parking area in the back. And we're planning to put a privacy screen with shrubbery to help mitigate the fact that the cars are close to this property. And then our second variance is also for the old lot. We're calling that Lot A, and that's for impervious coverage. Currently, the lot, which is this entire lot of 12,000 square foot, approximately 12,000 square feet, has a impervious coverage of 41%. Maximum 60% is allowed. But when we put the property line here, the impervious coverage will now be 77%. So it's over the 60% maximum coverage, and that's the second variance we're asking for. In all other respects, the lot width, setbacks, rear yard, side yard setbacks, number of stories, building height, we are going to meet the code, and this will be an as-of-right lot. Next slide, please. And just to give you some information about the proposed building, it's a two-family house. It's approximately 4,800 square feet. There's going to be a unit in the front and one in the back. A smaller unit in the front and a larger one in the back. And when we develop our plans for developing the lot is to make sure that we get, if you could go back to the last one, we put the parking in back of the building so it's concealed from the front. So we have a driveway that goes into parking area with the garage on one side and open air parking on the west side. And this will this meets the setback for parking, meets all the other codes like impervious coverage. And back to our, I guess, site plan. Maybe we can go back to, we only have these plans here so you could see what kind of two-family house we're proposing. One unit is front, one is back. But essentially, we're here because we need to, we are looking for variances. One, for the outdoor parking, which is undersized, and two, for the impervious coverage. And by the way, this paved area and parking area is existing. We're not planning to change it at all. And it also has been there for many years. We have an old survey that shows that most of that impervious coverage was existing when a survey was done in 1981. So that's end of our presentation, and I'm happy to hear your questions.
I have one question.
Yes.
Christina, what options did the architectural team consider for possibly meeting the impervious requirements? For example, are there changes of material in Lot A where a impervious material could be replaced by a material that would classify as pervious? Are there different ways of dividing that the point between A and B? I think, there's a little bit of extra space. You'd have meeting a lot at a minimum of 5,000. Are there things that were explored which might make the impervious requirement variance less substantial or met?
Yes, we have a Plan B. I can show
Is
you.
that the Plan B?
You should mention that the existing house has 3 units in it, so the parking needs for the existing house are significant, and where, the existing house is currently providing the parking that needs for those units. Because we initially explored just reducing the amount of parking on that site, but it needs to provide the parking that
Yeah.
it is providing.
We're trying to preserve the parking spaces that are there, but we did look at a different material. And we looked really hard at what's there. There are pavers there, but they're not pervious. And we spoke to the owner about that to see if they consider an option of putting in pervious pavers to reduce the coverage.
That was my first thought. There are pavers that are pervious,
Right.
and if there were the ability to sub out the impervious pavers and replace it with pervious pavers, it would show that you guys were doing everything you could to not require the variance. Might not even need the variance.
Well, would you like us to show them? Driveway? Well, one of the things we looked at, the first option was to use pervious pavers for the new lot. So that would bring that.
Total coverage down 7%, down to 48%. And that's for the lot that's already compliant, but
Right.
that, you know, if you consider both lots as interconnected and the coverage of one lot is affecting the other lots, you know, an easier way to bring it down than ripping out existing.
We also looked at the storm drainage system. We found all the leaders go underground, and it's working really well. So it's not like the amount of impervious coverage is creating any problems at this point in time. There's area drains, and it seems to be well designed so that their drainage works well.
If you put pervious on the new lot,
Yes.
would that number offset what you're currently over on Lot A?
Interesting.
You'd be the same.
Yeah,
You'd end up being the same as you are today.
it looks like you'd be kind of in the same area.
We're over by 1,136 square feet, and if all the new, you know, paved areas that we show in green on the new lots were pervious pavers that we're reducing the coverage by 45%, which, you know, is not, you know, is in there are systems out there that allow you to reduce that permeability by 40, you know, deduct 45% of that area. We then are deducting 2,827 square feet. So we're more than compensating.
So that's 2 for 1.
Over on the other lots.
Yeah. That seems like a pretty good trade-off.
It does. And, you know, well, we have to sometimes be concerned about precedents. And we are going over on one lot. I think we could always, as long as our collective memory holds, recall that the reason we did it was because we were looking at the two lots and we meet the
Yeah.
requirement.
Yeah. The earth underneath both lots are still the same
John,
earth.
You're
So
younger
it's,
than Peter and I, so you're gonna have to take on the collective memory
I'm
after
gonna-
Peter and I leave.
better start taking notes with this memory.
Is there anyone else here who'd like to be heard on this application? Ma'am, could you come up and introduce yourself at the mic? Give your name and address.
Hi, my name is Amy Jo Neal. I live at 21 Riverside Place, which is one of the cul-de-sacs off of Palisade Street. My concern, or my question really about this is about drainage and the hardscapes, you know, the additional hardscapes, and where is this water that's currently sort of being absorbed into that lot, that, you know, that earth, where is that going to go? I don't, from personal experience, I don't think that the current drainage on Palisade Street, the sewers and, you know, is sufficient. It's been, you know, there's been flooding both on Chestnut. You know, so Palisade Street might be fine, but then it's draining down. So I'm curious about sort of how, you know, the calculations in terms of what's needed, not just to be sufficient for what exists, but additional, given climate change and these flash floods that keep happening, especially with Ida, and it's going to happen again. So that's really my question, not about, building the lot, building the building, that's fine. I just want to, I don't know if even this is the appropriate board for it, but that's my question.
Sure. When this project goes through the planning board, they're pretty rigorous on controlling water, with regard to, building projects. And there will be a lot of hoops that the architect has to go through to convince the village engineer that the drainage
Okay,
should
so
work
that's
properly.
more the
Yeah.
appropriate board.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, but that is something the village takes very seriously, and the architects who are doing the planning take very
Yeah.
seriously.
And I do think it's more than just this project. This is just
Sure.
an impetus
Sure.
for my question. It's about the town in general, right? And the drainage that it's, okay.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Questions you shouldn't ask, but I guess.
Anyone out in Zoom land? Nope. Okay. Anything else, guys?
Can I just say something? I am the owner.
Yes, come up and introduce yourself, and so that we have that for the record.
Okay, I'm Maria
Community address.
Lorenz. I am the owner of 107 Palisades as well. My dad and my sister live in the house next door. So we are trying to keep it in the family. So this is going to be an investment for my son, who plans on living in one of the units, and we're going to rent out the other one. So I just wanted to let you know, my dad has owned it since 1982. He's a mason, so he's done all the.
It shows, it shows, it's a beautiful building.
Yeah, he's done all the stonework and everything, and we've never had a water issue as far as flooding with rain. So I know the lot is pretty dry for the most part. So I know the sewer, there's been issues with the sewer, and we've called village regarding that. And they did say it's in the street, so I understand what, where she was, the young lady was getting at. But I just wanted to let you know that we're
Thank you.
keeping it in the family.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Move to close?
Second.
I move that the application be granted in accordance with the plan submitted, with the proviso that, you guys might have to help me with this, that that Lot B, the northern lot, use impervious, use pervious.
Use pervious.
Use pervious paving rather than impervious for 2,000 square feet.
I'd second that.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Good luck with you, Dave.
Thank you.
We haven't got, I think that's still backlog. I'm afraid to ask Liz. Quite frankly. There was, yeah, there was a lot of,
Just wondering.
I am messed up here. The next item on our agenda is 86 Belden, and this is for also for subdivision and a number of variances. This was in front of us back in 2019 for a similar appeal with, and today it has one less variance than previously. Who'll be heard on this application?
Yes, Adamo Majorano from Community Designs and Engineering. Just trying to upload the Zoom so I could share my screen.
Sure.
complete the last time.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Looks like it's
Take your time.
perfect. Okay, beautiful. All right. Okay, sorry, Don Marano again, on behalf of the owners here, Alex Tseng. We are proposing, oh, that works, a two-lot subdivision and single-family dwelling at 68 Belden Avenue. So basically, this property is in a OF4 zoning district, and the variances, as you said, are 8 variances, and they have, due to respect of the existing lot, the existing house is not being changed at all, but because we're subdividing, there is a variance for the lot width on both the existing dwelling that has created a new lot, and then our proposed lot as well. We'll need, obviously, a variance for the overall square footage of the new lots that are created, and the side yard setback. So one would be the existing home needs side yard setback variances, and the proposed home will need side yard setback variances. Other than that, all of the impervious surfaces, building coverage, and all of that do meet, all of the zoning requirements. Just take a site. So obviously, and also in that area, if you, obviously familiar with that area, most of the properties are, in very similar respect to our scale of the property size and also the proposed home. And as you mentioned, this was a similar sort of condition was before you back in 2019. Just in this case, our house and design sort of changed because it's very specific to the owner's desires and wishes. So the plan layout is very specific to what the family wishes and desires. We are cutting basically the home into the slope of the property. So as you drive up, similar as before, there'll be a garage in the basement, first floor, typical, plan layout, and then your second floor bedrooms. The house will sort of take on a, sort of modern design element to it, and home design, which is evident as well in the neighborhood. There are some very modern home within the vicinity of our proposed project. And just here is sort of a rendering of what that home looks like sitting next to the existing house that will remain. And then this is just the prior approval that had taken place. Basically, what's a little beneficial with ours, the old variances that were, on the previous application, we have greater side yard setbacks in our proposed home, just more narrow home, but a little longer, but still meeting all of the coverage and everything. And then this home is actually less in height than what was proposed previously back in 19 as well, by like, I think 4 or 5 feet. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up overall. Back to the overall site plan. And then also, yeah, there is steep slopes in this property, so the deduction was made with respect to the steep slopes and coverage to make sure that the coverage does comply with the steep slopes that's deducted from the overall lot area. More so on, basically the front left side is where that main steep slopes is, and that's where the building will sort of cut into. So the front is sort of exposed, and then the back, which has a deck area, it's basically like a walkout from the first floor. Yeah.
Okay. I probably should have said this at the start. Mr. Capasso, Mr. Fry, and I are all members of the golf course. So in a sense, we are
Across the street.
neighboring properties.
Sure.
If you want any of us to recuse ourselves, we're happy to do so.
But then we can't meet.
No, yeah, then, yeah.
I have two members, only John and I can vote.
Well, it's possible we can't decide anything tonight anyway. But that's your choice or the owner's
And that, yeah,
owner's
and
choice.
that's the really desire of the home is also the views of the golf course, and it was designed specifically to sort of be able to capture those views as well. And, you know, there's less congestion too, I guess, on that specific road because across the street, there are no houses where the golf course is.
Right.
May I?
Sure, go ahead.
I remember this application the previous time, and I had qualms about it the previous time. I don't recall how I voted after the discussion. When I pulled up to look at it again, the same thing struck me. And that is, right now, there is one home on a lot that's 100 feet wide, which is compliant with the code. Why should we approve a variance which is putting two homes on a lot that is 100 feet wide and asking for a variance of 50 feet for each one? So what am I missing? Is there some basic fact that I don't recall from the first time?
No, I think just with respect to the other neighboring homes, I mean, will it be out of character or, you know, a detriment to the community? Most of those properties, if we go back to this map here, you can see, so like to the right, there's 50, you know, foot lot next to it, another 50-foot lot next to that. All of those homes in the immediate vicinity of our project are very similar scale property sizes. So, you know, it sort of fits into the context of the neighborhood. I guess the new zoning of the, you know, 100-foot or
That side of the block on Belden, the side across the street from the golf course, going from the high school down to Washington Avenue, there's a variation on lot width. There's some that are very wide, there's some that are not as wide.
Sure.
It's a hard lot to read because of the steep slope and the overgrown nature of the property adjacent to the house. Again, I don't understand. I think that's a huge ask, to ask for a 50% variance. And that's just a personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the home, you know, it's not an oversized home, so it does fit, you know, in that, you know, so-called fit, you know, there's still 12-foot side yard setbacks, you know, so it sort of fits within that, you know, property. I think that very hard to find, you know, to meet that requirement, it would have to be a massive, you know, property, which you don't really see in that area. But yeah, as you say, you know, next door, I think there's two 70-foot wide homes, so it is, you know, the biggest lot within, you know, I would say, you know, 4 lots down, 5 lots down. And once you start to really go further up, yes, there are a few, then it starts to get bigger.
There might be some smaller ones on this opposite side of the street, but as I walk the block,
And that side too, yeah.
they were 75 feet plus.
This is really interesting that we're doing this, looking at this property right after the previous property.
Right.
Because Palisade Street is that. It is a
Yeah.
very tight community. It is the character of that street. It's a defining character of that street. And so we just approved the division of that lot and the introduction of a new house that respected setbacks. Actually, the things they were asking for were, you know, pervious version, you know, it was a very, very different type of thing. I agree it fits, but you need variances on lot width, you need variances on setback, you need variances on total lot. It's to me, it's a too big of an ask. And I think that this neighborhood it's not that character. Like this neighborhood is not that way. Most of these, there's one odd house that's very, very wide just up the street, but for the most part, there's room to breathe on that
Yeah.
on this street.
It's not Maple, it's not Palisade. Belden is a different street.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, we're kind of also going off of what was approved and said, okay, we could sort of better this by increasing the side yard setbacks on the proposed home as well. So, you know, again, they meet the required for 1 yard, just not the combined, you know, so to speak. And then obviously the existing, yes, that's a larger, you know, ask of the existing, which was the same ask as the previous application. So I guess it's from what was approved before, it's a lesser ask for the same, well, one less variance and then lesser ask for the side yard variance, which directly affects the lot, widths. As perception of looking between the homes and what, the side yard setbacks are. I guess a lot, you could even see the how, here, how close to the property line some of the are, this is almost touching, there's a large setback here, so it almost looks like, okay, the property line should be in the middle, and that's in, but it's not in the same here, probably. I believe, to the right side is a 50-foot wide lot, and to the left, I think, is 70 foot.
Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard on this application? Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Schneider. My husband and I live at 76 Belden, that's the low house, for 6 years now. This is the property just to the left of the extra house that is being proposed to fit in between our house and the existing 68 Belden Avenue. Our house is the one that will be most affected by this proposal. I'd like to just introduce, because he'll do a better job than I would, my son-in-law, David Garten, who is also a resident of Dobbs Ferry. David, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I think the questions that you hit on were spot on in terms of the level of the variance. It's a 50% change in terms of the existing variance to the village code. And the precedent that would set, in many ways, could make other zoning restrictions a bit arbitrary, because it seems it's a very extreme ask. While the gentleman noted that the lot to the left was at 70 width, the structure that is in Roberta and Marvin's house is significantly smaller than what is proposed. And while I appreciate, I work in development, I'm sympathetic to the ask. If you walk up and down that block, it would not be consistent with the overall aesthetic and that block of Belden Avenue. So in addition to the previous comments of noting of things like water runoff, overall impact to the house at 76 Belden, Roberta and Marvin Schneider's house, we have some serious concerns and actually oppose the ask on the part of the owner. And then finally, as I mentioned before, I am sympathetic to development. This is the first time that we have seen these plans. Be more than happy to work with the existing owner in terms of how to modify those plans and trying to create something that would work, but in its current form, it's not something that we could support.
Just as a question, what would happen if, the existing house was scraped? How big a single residence could you build on that? And would it?
I think a good-sized house,
Yeah.
probably 3,000 square foot house. Is that? Have you explored doing something like that? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alex Sang. I am the owner of 68 Belden. I have spoken with Roberta before. One time we met. So sympathetic to her concerns since she has the smallest house on the block. So for us, we're building this so that we can live in it. It's myself, my wife, and 2 young kids. We're building the house to be sized appropriately to what we need it for. Basically, it's around 2,600 square feet, give or take, which is actually the size of the house that we currently have. For us, it wouldn't make sense to even do a 3,000 square foot house. Actually, you could probably build up to like 3,500 square feet. We don't want a house that big. We want a house that's consistent with the size of the houses in the neighborhood, which is around 2,600 square feet, give or take. So the scale of it, to me, seems appropriate to the block. I understand in terms of like some of the setbacks on the side, like maybe it's a little less than some of the other houses, but it's actually more than the houses that are, the house that's 62 Belden, I believe, the one that's to the south of us. So I feel like we're doing what we can to make the house the right size for the neighborhood, but happy to hear your thoughts on it.
I think the house in and of itself is the right size for the neighborhood. I think it's about relationship to other, it's about spatial relationship to the other houses. Right? So, no one says you have to build a 3,000 square foot house. You can build onto the existing structure and make it one building and still respect the setbacks. I mean, there's a number of different options, but if you look at like the factors that we have to consider, this is a self-created hardship. I think it's, at least in my opinion, it does affect the character of the neighborhood. So these are the types of things that we have to think about when we're making a determination. So from my perspective, it's a big ask.
Can I add one more thing?
I'm sorry?
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Okay, yeah, so the previous zoning of this block was a OF 6, I believe. And that was when the lot was actually, it was 2 lots historically, it was 2 tax lots, and it had an OF 6 zoning on it, which actually made sense for that neighborhood at the time. And it's sort of at the border of the historic district versus the new OF 4 district. So I think part of it, we also have to, it's tough to use that as a precedent, I think, because it has characteristics of its own that this lot is not a part of.
Oh, agree, but it's well down from the historic district. It's kind of an enclave unto itself. And the fact that it was an OF6 district means that when it was, you could have built something different than you could build today. It just seems to me, too, that, there are other ways to get the house that you want by adjusting the existing structure. Which from what I recall from the last application, last time this was in front of us, needs a great deal of work. And, fixing that up for, your current needs seems like that's the right solution for this neighborhood.
I mean, the financial gain of, having the existing home and having an additional lot is a big benefit to then
Sure.
knocking, obviously, that's, the huge, probably why they came to you in the first place, where you could have an existing home and be able, it's a huge difference. And we're kind of just going off of, okay, this sort of condition was, not approved 10 years ago or 15, it was just a couple of years ago, and then it's like, okay, I could, the house is pretty narrow, I mean, it's 23 feet, so it's a fairly narrow, home. Most homes you would never see that are narrow, so it's still, that minimum side yard that you need, you still have it on both sides. Again, it's the overall, so it's hard to, hey, let's make it a 20-foot, wide, it really gets difficult when it's that narrow. Obviously, because on that side of the street, the properties are longer, so the house can extend further back.
Should we close and vote? Close and put a motion.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No, yeah, again, just, thank you for your time, but, just looking at, what was done and what we were able to do to try to, better the situation that was approved previously. And again, it's not for, a developer to sort of build and sell and make his money and run away. It's the owners actually, in specific, you could see the design of the home is looking to financially, be able to move in with respect to having the home next to it as well.
Before we vote, should we give them the opportunity? See if they can come back to us, or is it just so far out of bounds that it wouldn't sway you guys? They could do. That's fine.
Putting on the two hats passes where one house should be.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I kind of think the same thing.
I think there are options.
Yeah.
I think
Options as it
one
relates to
new
the
house,
existing.
building onto the existing structure, two, well, probably can't do a two-family house here, but in any case, I just, there are other options, I think, to get there.
Right.
Maybe
And,
previously.
and if we look at those criteria, it changes not desirable, it is substantial, I think it is an adverse effect, I think it's self-created, and I think it puts us in this position where, it sets a pretty strong precedent, like someone, to take a lot that clearly went to accommodate one building and one house and try to fit two on there it's rough.
Oh, yeah, I mean, so, no, not to disrespect the board or anything, none of that, or the previous members that were there. We're not, trying to, hey, the next door property got subdivided, so now we want to do the same. It's just, he's looking at, hey, this property was previously subdivided and these, concerns. It's not like, hey, okay, this was approved, let's build a little bit bigger of a house. It's a little bit smaller of a house, and, okay, if these concern, or that condition didn't come up before, then we probably have a good, proposal to go forward, with resubmitting and going through the motions again. Yeah. Kind of where I think the owner is,
Well, I think times change and people see things differently, at different times. And, it was approved and it wasn't built. And now it's asked to be approved and, it doesn't look like you've got support to build. Clearly there's, it's a big ask and there's not a lot of evidence on the record that would indicate that that this fits in.
I don't know if it helps to do it, a study of that entire street and, average every parcel and say, okay, the average parcel lot width is 60 feet and we're at 50. I don't know if that even helps the board, but.
Well, it's your application.
That can, that can be done, say, for the next meeting or something, and say, with this also, maybe it helps, maybe it does, just a thought of, okay, let's look at that immediate street and say, okay, what the average lot width is, in the context of the average lot, not the zoning, what does that sort of look like? How does that really fit into that, block both sides? If
From my perspective, there may have been sins committed in the past. I can't undo them.
I don't mean.
I'm looking at the situation before us going forward, and I see a ask that I am not comfortable with. And as John said previously, there are other ways that the value of the property can be increased besides creating two houses on the property.
Yeah, or I'm even looking at, again, I'm new to this, but you'd have to get rid of the existing house probably, but you could build one house on South Lane and one on Belden, possibly, right? Have you looked at that?
I'm not sure you can
You can't
have a
do
house facing South Lane.
Or you cannot?
Those are all garages, you know,
Okay.
it's not a street.
You know,
But, you know,
Right.
your point is still valid. You could build something more substantial.
Oh, yeah, you're right, nothing, no, house, faces, they're all, those are, all garage.
You know, there's a garage with an
Yeah.
apartment above
Yeah.
next door. But that's not a house.
But yeah, that's sort of, across the street, in here in the map where you see the highlighted lot size is where that one is pretty evident that it's the biggest lot in that entire 200-foot radius, but
Is there anyone else that thinks they would gain anything by hearing more?
Not with this scheme or
Yeah.
anything close to the scheme, for me at least.
Yeah. Agreed.
they ask.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
Motion to deny the application, given the extent of the variances being requested for both minimum lot area and minimum lot width.
Setbacks.
Setbacks, yeah.
I'd second that.
All in favor? Sorry.
Thank you for your time.
Motion to close the meeting?
Close the hearing, yeah, right. Close the hearing.
All in favor?
All in favor, close the hearing.
And it is 8:48.
I never
Thank you,
guess
Jim.
correctly. Susan always asks me, what time are you going home? Times I say 9 o'clock.